I have therefore spoken to His Majesty the King to notify him that I am resigning as leader of the Conservative Party.
British Prime Minister Liz Truss has resigned after just 6 weeks in office. Her announcement comes after a bruising week of U-turns on economic and energy policy and
a currency collapse, soaring borrowing rates, investors and businesses in despair. And that in just the span of a week.
The British pound hitting an all-time low today against the dollar. £1 equaling about $1.03. It's now back up to like $1.07.
The British pound has fallen to its lowest level ever against the US dollar.
We are witnessing nothing less than one of the worst catastrophes to befall the United Kingdom in centuries. The resignation of Prime Minister Liz Truss after literally just days in office is but the tip of the iceberg of Britain's national crisis. Inflation has hit a 40-year high of just shy of 10%. Energy bills have doubled despite government-enforced price increase capping, and the British pound has collapsed to an all-time low against the U.S. dollars. To make matters worse, Britain faces a debt crisis and a banking crisis that put the U.K. on the brink of a Lehman Brothers-like financial collapse. So what's going on here? Why is Britain politically and economically spiraling out of control? It basically begins with, of course, none other than Russia. Back in September, the Kremlin announced that gas supplies via the Nord Stream pipeline would not resume in full until the collective West lifted sanctions against Russia over its invasion of Ukraine. Now, in all fairness, this is precisely what the Boris Johnson administration was warned about. Sanctions against Russia, especially the blitzkrieg of sanctions that Johnson was advocating, would inevitably boomerang on the whole of the European continent, which received 40% of its gas from Russia. Now, in fairness to Boris, he, like bumbling Biden, believed that the barrage of sanctions would sink the ruble and crush the Russian economy before the Kremlin could retaliate. And that's certainly what the media was reporting back in March after the initial waves of sanctions. The ruble was destroyed, Russia was on the brink of default, their economy was about to collapse, and inevitably the people would turn against their government and bring about the fall of Putin. But that didn't happen. And it didn't happen because, as it turns out, Russia's been preparing for this moment for at least the last decade. Since 2012, Russia's been busy building what scholars call a civilization state, which involves reviving the ancient Orthodox Russian world in order for Russia to ultimately overthrow what Putin called in a recent speech the insane satanic forces of the woke West. As such, Russia's long been creating a parallel economy, repositioning themselves politically and economically more towards the Eurasian East, aligning itself with China, India, and the Middle East, which has largely rendered the Russian Federation immune from the economic sanctions imposed by the West. But while Russia's fast recovering from the original impact of the sanctions, the pain of Russia's counter-sanctions against the West is just beginning. But first, for you patriot business owners out there, you have got to meet my good friend Josh Zaglowski, co-founder of ERC Specialists. Josh has an amazing payroll protection company exclusively dedicated to understanding and maximizing what's called the CARES Act Employee Retention Credit. If you're a small business owner looking to get up to $26,000 per employee back from bumbling Biden, click on that link in the description below to see if you qualify today. It's an absolutely amazing opportunity. With Russia turning off the gas along with the mysterious sabotaging of the Nord Stream pipelines, the price of the UK's energy bills have gone through the roof, which has in turn unleashed a cost of living crisis throughout the nation. Enter the new Prime Minister, Liz Truss, and her Treasury Chief, Kwasi Kwarteng.
So today, I can announce the creation of new investment zones. We will liberalise planning rules in specified agreed sites, releasing land and accelerating development. And, Mr. Speaker, we will cut taxes. For businesses in designated tax sites for 10 years, there will be accelerated tax reliefs for structures and buildings and 100% tax relief on qualifying investments in plants and machinery.
The tax cut plan turned out to be a disaster. Investors panicked over how the government was going to be able to slash taxes while at the same time subsidize the caps on the soaring costs of energy without accruing a massive amount of debt on the one hand, and without inevitably making inflation worse due to the increase in government spending on the other. The market reaction was swift and it was brutal. The pound imploded to record lows to the dollar. Government bonds were sold off in record numbers, and the continued market volatility forced Liz Truss to announce her resignation, making her the shortest-serving prime minister in UK history. So big picture, what's happening here? Well, as it turns out, a seemingly impulsive sanctioning by the UK government towards Russia's invasion of Ukraine appears to have had very, very different results than a decades-long plan to absorb and indeed ricochet those sanctions by Russia. The sanctions have boomeranged. They have been, in the end, nothing more than a self-inflicted wound exacted against the British public by their own virtue-signaling permanent political class. And the British media is beginning to notice. There's an increasing recognition that all of this cost of living suffering is actually being borne by only one side of the equation here. As the Russian economy begins to again flourish, we're finding that there are many, many other nations that are more than happy to join forces with Russia's new civilization state. China and India have been invaluable partners, both economically and politically, in revitalizing Russia's energy sales. And now Turkey looks like it will be the new hub for Russian gas for the whole of Europe, in effect stealing away one of NATO's most important member states. Increasingly, the British are recognizing that Boris and the whole of the political class made a horrific miscalculation, one that has come at a considerable and literal cost for every single British citizen. The question remains, will anyone in Britain's political class admit this miscalculation and propose to finally and decisively change course? As always, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button, and you will definitely want to check out my latest video on the AOC charade finally imploding. You're going to absolutely love it, so make sure to click on that link, and I'll see you over there. God bless.